Welcome to this episode of the Accenture CIO 24/7 podcast series, keeping you up to date on the latest news and information from Accenture's internal IT organization.
I'm Jason Warnke, part of the Accenture CIO organization. I'm glad to be here today as we celebrate International Women's Day. I'm honored to have Melissa Summers with me, a managing director in our internal IT organization. Melissa exemplifies what International Women's Day stands for, and I'm hoping that she can share her journey all the way from winning a high school science fair to becoming an outstanding Accenture IT managing director. Thanks for joining me today, Melissa.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
Great. International Women's Day is an important day where everyone can reflect on progress made, the call for change, and to celebrate acts of determination by women who have played a big role in the history of their countries and communities. What does that mean for you, Melissa?
Well, I'm certainly glad to have this day, and it's a great opportunity to celebrate the awesome things that women all over the world have accomplished throughout history. But it's so important to remember that it's not just a one-day thing, but rather a movement and a conversation starter for the entire year. It also is a great time that day to take a time to step back from our daily routines and reflect on the larger themes of International Women's Day and what it represents, and really get inspired. And of course, it's a great way to connect with women and men who may go to the events that happen throughout the world.
That's right. So take us back a few years. What sparked your interest in science and technology?
Well, I grew up the oldest of four sisters, and our family really encouraged us to pursue anything we wanted to. And I remember as a kid, I had a backpack that said on it, "Girls can do anything." And that really was how we grew up in our house. So I always had an affinity for math and science. And as you mentioned, I participated in several science fairs. And I think a great story kind of that exemplifies this is one year I made it to the state fair on my project that was about the physics of hurdling. And I unfortunately wasn't able to attend the state science fair because I was at the state track meet competing in hurdling. So it was proof that my project was a success. After high school, I went on to Notre Dame and I got a degree in chemical engineering. What I really loved about the engineering degree that I got was the problem-solving skills that I was able to hone through that experience. Following getting my degree, I started working here at Accenture, which at the time was Anderson Consulting. And I always had the plan of, figuring out what I really wanted to do. And it ends up that this is it. And I've been here ever since, which has been quite a while.
I love that story. That's so great. All the way back to a backpack with the words, "Girls can do anything." So cool. Such a great story. Incredible to hear. But you must have faced obstacles along the way. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, certainly with all jobs, right, there are ups and downs. And my career here at Accenture has been no different. One of the things that has kept me here at Accenture is really the varied work that I've had the opportunity to do. I spent a fair amount of time in consulting, and in that, I got the opportunity to work in a variety of different industries, and it really gave me an appreciation for how those different industries worked. I had the opportunity also to come and work internally with Accenture and work on their SAP implementation quite a while ago, and that's what made me decide to transfer into our internal IT. It really is rewarding to work on Accenture as the business. One of the obstacles that I faced at various points in my career has been that there's a perception that I'm very quiet, but really this is just what my character is like. So I tend to listen a lot when I'm entering a new situation or a new team, and I don't have a tendency to pile on to points that have already been made in meetings and different discussions. So it often got me labeled as being too quiet. So after receiving that feedback quite a few times over the years, I developed a strategy to avoid this perception and try to speak up early in a meeting so that maybe I can make the point first rather than piling on. Jason, you work with me most days, and I'm guessing you don't think I'm particularly quiet.
Anything but. So yeah, that's a perception, and that's a challenge that many of our women in IT, and particularly in CIO, talk about quite a bit. And we are talking both about the perception of that and in some cases the reality and what you do about it. In some cases there there are tactics to to change that perception. But yeah, definitely, that is not the case that I see you as someone that I would label as particularly quiet. So that is really insightful, great background, the interesting stories about what you learned on the various projects inside and outside of our internal IT organization. That's super helpful. We're doing a lot at Accenture and specifically in CIO to support our inclusion and diversity agenda. Can you share with us a little bit about what you are doing personally?
Sure. So really my first kind of official foray into more actively working within our inclusion and diversity agenda was I got involved in the immersion program that Accenture does with the Girls Who Code organization. So this is an organization that, working with a number of different companies, high school girls get to participate in a 9-week program where they're completely immersed in learning how to code, and they end up creating a project at the end, and they go on field trips to different companies throughout that time. So Accenture Chicago hosts one of these immersion programs. And during that first year, I volunteered to be a mentor to one of the students. And that involved meeting with her for lunch once a week in the office. And we would just talk through kind of what she was learning, how she was enjoying the program, what she planned to do as she was going into her senior year of high school, whether or not she was going to establish a Girls Who Code club at her high school. And then we got to advise on some of the project work that she was doing. And it was really a rewarding opportunity to, interact with these high school girls. You see a lot of yourself in them when you have an affinity for math and science. And it was just great. I remember thinking, there's no way I was that buttoned up when I was a junior in high school heading into senior year. But my mentee she was great. And it really gave me a lot of appreciation for this immersion program that Accenture sponsors. Within CIO, and so our internal IT department, we sponsor an apprenticeship program with the City Colleges of Chicago. And I'm actually the sponsor of that apprenticeship program. We're heading into our 3rd year of that. And that really has given us the opportunity to tap into a talent source that we wouldn't have normally. So it's local talent, students who are close to finishing their associate's degree and a technology degree, or have already graduated with their associate's degree. And this has really just been an awesome opportunity, not only for those local students, but also for our teams to really see what some of these untapped talent pools look like. And then finally, I'm one of the sponsors of our CIO Inclusion and Diversity program, where we're currently focused on making our gender mix within CIO more equal. And that really involves working with leaders across CIO to be more intentional about our strategies to attract, retain, and develop women while keeping talent first within our organization. It's been really great to get more actively involved in the inclusion and diversity agenda, and I look forward to continuing to expand this.
I love the story of an individual, and you push, specifically your passion for the topic, and how you're able to bring the passion to the bigger role of driving this inside of our CIO organization, and quite frankly, at a broader scale across Accenture, which leads me to my last question. How does this all play into, these various activities play into what Accenture is doing as a bigger company to support inclusion diversity across the globe?
So, Accenture has taken a significant step in terms of making sure that we are diverse as a company. We're already in so many different countries, but really we've made the step to make sure that our future workforce is an equal one. And one of the things we've done is we've committed to be a gender balanced workforce by 2025. And that, although the commitment is made at the highest level, that's great. But also all of the organizations then are working bottoms up to make sure that we hit that accomplishment. And by doing that, we'll not only have our gender balance, much more diversity of thought and diverse ideas as we move forward, which is only going to increase the strength of our organization as a whole. We're also looking to grow the percentage of women managing directors across the globe to bring that up to 25% by 2020. It's so great to see a company like Accenture committing to these things publicly, and it really makes me proud to work for a company like this. It also makes me, want to encourage all girls and young women and women who are coming out of college with engineering and computer science degrees to keep working hard and maybe look at Accenture as an opportunity for a career like mine.
Well, thanks, Melissa. And thank you for listening to our first Spotlight edition of the CIO 24/7 podcast series. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast series on iTunes. I'm Jason Warnke. See you next time.
Thank you for joining today's podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the Accenture CIO podcast series on iTunes and listen to all episodes.